Welcome back to Investing and Trading Live. Once again, I am your host, Josh Lilpith, talking about the do's and the don'ts of the financial markets. Strategy is designed to bring more consistency with your trading and investing. We had a lot of people calling and texting in for these free investing classes that were helping people all across the metro, matter of fact, all across the country, make smarter investing decisions. Simply to come into one of these free investing classes to learn more about these markets, call or text the word trading to the number 952-905-0975. That's 952-905-0975. And that's for 2 seats, one for you and one for a friend, for an investing class near you. On the last segment, we really talked about why only 1% of the public, that's the retail traders, are consistently profitable in the markets. And a lot of that is, first off, they don't have the proper education. If they do have any education, it's not skill building. So that's what it comes down to, is having a skill in the financial markets, and then steps within that, understanding how supply and demand works in the market, and then have areas where you want to be a willing buyer or an area where you want to be a willing seller. And that way you don't have to be at the exact price to get in or out of your position. So that brings more odds and probabilities of getting filled, but also managing your capital properly as well. And that's what a lot of people are trying to do with more of like an income style trading. Well, we have a lot of people listening that do great financially. They make good money with their jobs, have great careers, but they want to have more income to build that wealth bucket, because that's what it takes, is extra income to build wealth. Now, there are some strategies, but you also have to use the proper market or the proper vehicle to get to where you want to be for an income strategy. I was actually having a conversation the other day with somebody, and they were talking about, you're supposed to day trade stocks because that's how you make money trading and investing. And we talked about it, and I said, well, a stock actually requires the most amount of money because there's no buying power. You only have 6.5 hours a day to do that because it's open from 8:30 until 3 Central Time. And he's like, well, how am I supposed to do that when I work during the day? I said, great question. So we're told, and we think, everybody thinks that you're supposed to day trade stocks. And that's what people are doing every single day. Well, that's not really the case. I want you to talk about some other asset classes or other vehicles that may offer other opportunities to be able to day trade if they wanted to, but that's just a term is all it is. What if they wanted an income strategy in the market? What are some of the assets that you think might be an opportunity for people to use less capital, but will have flexibility of their time as well?
Right. Well, unfortunately, most people are conditioned to only look at one portion of the financial market, and that's what they're going to use for income and for their long-term wealth. And that's not the right way to do it. And that's not how the big players, the institutions, do it. It's not how people like Warren Buffett do it. They look at different assets for their income, the income portion of their life, but you have to have enough extra income to fill that wealth bucket, that retirement bucket. But that's going to be a little different kind of a investment. That's more long-term. But if you need income, it means you have to be able to access money on a shorter-term time frame. You can't wait 10 or 20 or 30 years to pay for something you need to pay for now. So if you're going to be using the financial markets for income, it stands to reason that you have to be able to use something that you get into and out of on a short-term basis. In other words, it has a shorter lifespan. There are assets that are perfect for that are being used by the 99% of people that are successful. And there are things like the options market, the futures market, the foreign exchange market. One of the great things about those assets is they have leverage. So people that don't have a lot of money or don't want to take a lot of their retirement money or wealth money can take a small portion of it, put a small portfolio together that might have leverage. It could be 10 to 1. So every dollar it controls $10. It could be 20 or 50 or 100 or 200 to 1. That's how you maximize the value of every dollar you have. If you're not using leverage, you're missing out on one of the greatest benefits that's available to you. If you're trying to use leverage and you don't understand it, you're probably putting yourself in jeopardy. So when you come into these classes, we'll talk to you about what these leveraged assets are and how you have to make sure you have the right kind of protection in place. No matter what you're trading, no matter what your style is, anything you do, you need to understand what the characteristics of what you're doing are, and then also what's the worst case scenario And if you can't control that, then you shouldn't do that trade. But why is income so important? Well, we know, stats show that almost 70% of the people are living paycheck to paycheck. So that has a huge impact on the quality of people's lives and their ability to put money away for retirement. We often hear people say money can't buy happiness. We've heard that, right, Josh?
But it can make you a lot more happier in a nice neighborhood.
Well, apparently we're wrong, because a survey done by a financial technology company called Empower found that 6 in 10 Americans believe money can buy happiness. What do they mean by happiness? Well, it includes being able to pay your bills on time. 67% of the respondents said that was what would make them happy. Living debt-free, 65%. Affording everyday luxury items without worrying, 54%. And then spending on expenses with loved ones, maybe traveling, doing some fun things, 53%. And then owning a home, 45%. That's what people look at as being happiness, and it does take money to buy that.
So money does buy happiness.
Money does buy happiness. But here's the interesting thing. How much money do you need to be happy? And there's a drastic difference between baby boomers and millennials. Baby boomers think they need about $124,000 annually. And so that means when you're in retirement, how are you going to achieve that kind of income? But the millennials, on the other hand, say they need about $526,000 a year to have joy in their lives. So that's a huge difference. And probably a big part of it is when they started their careers, it was right during the big recession, and they went through the big inflation period where it was more expensive for them to buy homes and things like that.
Well, think about the mindset of those two different groups, though, right? If you have baby boomers, if you're a baby boomer, back in the day, $100,000 was a big deal. So there's a psychological number there that they feel they need. So they think if they get $100,000 a year, they feel great. But now things have changed. The inflation, things are more expensive. That 100,000, or in that case, I think it was 124. That doesn't go very far. So that's why a lot of those baby boomers are struggling to retire, because they know they don't have enough. They can't retire, or they're working longer because they know they have to.
Right.
That's why the market might be an opportunity.
Well, in the market, there are opportunities there. You need to start taking advantage of those opportunities now. If you say that I need $124,000 to be happy in retirement, where are you going to get that $124,000? It has to come from somewhere. Do you have income coming in retirement that's going to provide that, or are you just going to start to draw down what you've put together?
And who wants to get a second or a third job?
And unfortunately, for a lot of people, that's what they end up doing. Or when you go into retirement, what happens if you lose some of the money that you have in retirement? You better hope you love your job, because you may be doing that until you're in your 80s or 90s.
I want to stop you right there, because say that again. What happens if you say that again? What happens if you?
What happens if the money that you have put aside for retirement? What happens in this environment? This easily could happen, where maybe 40, 50, 60% of what you have saved for retirement disappears because of a market drawdown, a market crash.
So I want to discuss that on the next segment, because I bet a lot of people are listening right now and they're saying, that won't happen to me. And it can happen. It's happened several times. And if you've ever spoken to somebody where that's happened to them, you might want to understand how they felt, how devastating that can be. And that's what everybody thinks, though. It's not going to happen to me.
Right.
And when it does, it's devastating. Now, what can you do differently? I want to discuss that about the retirement side in the next segment, Al. So let's put a pin in that for that. But when you have people that want to get to that promised land, to retirement, it's going to take extra income to do that. And millennials are saying they need, $520,000 or something to do that. Well, it might be advantageous to start learning the skills of investing and trading now, because as long as you can click a mouse, you can do that. You can physically do that, because it's just a click of a mouse away. It's all online. You can do that from home or from wherever that you're at in the world, because as long as you have an internet connection, the market might be available for you. So that's an opportunity for people to have an income strategy on top of their job now to build wealth. Or if they're retired now, which we're seeing a lot of people coming in right now that are retired, that want to be able to have that income stream during retirement so they don't have to draw their retirements down. And then they want to be able to leave a legacy for their family. we're going to discuss more of those techniques and strategies and concepts in these investing classes that we do right here at the Academy in Bloomington. We also are across the country, but also across the metro area here in Minnesota. So simply just call or text the word trading to the number 952-905-0975, and that's for 2 seats for a free investing class to learn more about these income strategies, the different assets, whether it's options, futures, forex, stocks, opportunities in up markets, opportunities in down markets. But the key is to have a consistent strategy. How you do that is actually having a strategy coming into these investing classes. Call or text the word trading right now to the number 952-905-0975, and that's for 2 seats, 1 for you, 1 for a friend. Coming up next, stay tuned. We got a big segment on retirement accounts, how to protect those accounts, but talking more about protecting those portfolios. This is Josh and Al, Investing and Trading Live. We'll be right back.